Hey, what's up, guys? Red Bishop here of the Press A to Listen podcast, and I have another video review for you. It's been about a month since my last one, so I figured it was time to get another one up for you guys. And this time it's for a game called Infinity Runner, which it came out on PC a few months ago. So if you're unfamiliar with it, I don't blame you. I knew very little about it before playing the Xbox One version, and this game is out this week, April the 20th, the week of April the 20th, 2015, on the PS4 and Xbox One. So whichever system you're on, you can pick this game up and play it. It'll be $7 when it releases, and for those who are unfamiliar with it, it is an auto runner. So, you know, if you've played any of those types of games on your phone, it's very similar to that, but it kind of has several unique twists to it. First off, so the gameplay, let's get that out of the way. It's an auto runner, so you don't control how fast the character's moving. You don't control his movement at all. You use the right stick to turn. So when you get to, you'll see it in the video, when you get to certain sections where there's just a wall in front of you, you have to use the right stick to go left or right. You use the left trigger to slide, so when you see lasers, you slide underneath them, or any kind of obstacles. Eventually, later in the game, you run across obstacles that are, you know, more flamboyant and stuff than just lasers. And you can use right trigger to jump. So it's very simplistic controls. It's something that obviously could be done on a phone, not the visual-wise, but the actual gameplay itself can be done on a phone. But I feel like putting it on a console makes sense. There's not a ton of these types of games around. And when you get down to the later levels, there are a few difficult sections in the game. It's not something that you can kind of run through and do on your own. And I don't say it's an endless runner, because each section, or they call them in the game sectors, they have a finish. There's a goal to get there, because it's a story mode. So you kind of go through different sections of the map, different sections of a ship, and so on and so forth. And speaking of that story mode, I think that's one of the other unique twists about it. First off, it's in first person. You know, it's a first person game, which you don't see a ton of those in endless runners. They're usually sideways or kind of over the shoulder type of thing. And with it being first person, they have this kind of unique story mode that I don't want to kind of spoil too much, because I feel like they do a good job of, I wouldn't say constantly surprising you, but the kind of main crux of the story that gets about halfway through it, you find out about halfway through, is a pretty damn good surprise if you don't know it's coming. So I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm just going to mention that there is a pretty good surprise halfway through, and I feel like they constantly evolve on that surprise as the story mode progresses throughout. The other thing that they throw into the gameplay portion is, obviously you're going through, you're jumping, you're sliding, you know, kind of a typical auto runner thing, but they also throw in kind of these fights, is what they call fights. You'll see two or three enemies on the screen, and you have to kind of do basically a button prompt. So basically it's a quick time event. But what this kind of does, and what I enjoyed about it, is it kind of breaks up the monotony of you constantly just running, hitting right on the stick, hitting right trigger to jump, and stuff like that. So it kind of breaks that up a little bit. It kind of adds a little bit of new to it. But you can also turn this off when you go into the arcade mode, which the arcade mode itself is just that's where you get to the endless running part, where you can just go until you run out of lives. You know, you can run as, I did one earlier where I did 15 minutes until I ran out of lives. So that's the one where you can kind of go constantly until your heart's content. Also included are what they call data packets, which this is kind of just something you pick up along the way. It's not necessary unless you're kind of having difficulties with the game, because every 250 data packets that you pick up, you get an extra life. So it's kind of something that's not necessary, like I said, but it's something that kind of just gives you something to collect along the way. And I figured that was something pretty cool. And they also have straight up collectibles. So there's one in each level. Majority of them require you to just simply jump to get them, so they're not hidden. You don't have to go to extra paths or anything like that. The game does a decent job at explaining all of this, what the data packets mean, what you need, what the controls themselves are. And the one downside I have with the game itself is I feel like the tutorials and the things they put across the screen to tell you what each control and everything does, the game itself doesn't stop. The game keeps going in the background. Granted, it slows down a little bit, but I feel like it doesn't slow down enough, and it puts the words of hey, what's coming up, hey, this is how you jump, hey, this is what you need to do to this new element that we're showing off to you. It puts it at the bottom of the screen, so you have to look at the bottom of the screen and take your eyes off of the game. So I feel like they do a decent job of trying to explain tutorials, but I feel like they don't do a well enough job at actually letting you read what's on the screen, because it goes away relatively quickly. But that's kind of the only real negative I have in Infinity Runner. I think for $7, the story mode itself lasts about 2 to 3 hours, so you're getting some time there. And then the arcade mode itself is basically an endless mode. So you can go in there, and there's power-ups inside of that arcade mode as well that kind of give it a little bit of longevity as well, replayability and stuff like that. So I feel like for $7, this is a a well done game. I feel like they do a good job with the surprise factor. They do a good job with the visuals. And yeah, it's just an auto runner, but I feel like that's kind of unique for consoles at the moment. Granted, there are a few on there already, not the new consoles, but the 360, PS3 era. But I feel like this is a game that a bunch of people can pick up, can easily play, easily be able to master, and have fun with it. So with that said, I'm going to end the video review here. Like I said, I don't want to spoil the surprise. I'm not going to show it off in the video either, so for anyone who's still here, don't worry about kind of anything being spoiled. But that's going to do it for this video review of Infinity Runner. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching.